I want to begin by thanking a few folks: Marcia, Carrie, Kim, Carrie's dog. Apparently I played an instrumental. Where's the Reverend, the good Reverend? Has played a very important instrumental role. I want to thank the Reverend. I want to thank the cantor whose music was beautiful. God, we got to give her applause for her. I also want to say to Jonathan, nice to see you again. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance yet to shake hands with you. Speaker Emeritus, my friend Sheila Oliver, my good friend Kevin Brown, with whom I was yesterday with a lot of brothers and sisters from 32BJ, one of the great rocket unions in this country and in the state. Kevin, God bless you, buddy. Dan Fatton, and to all your representations and environmental interests, to Brendan and to all of you, thank you for having me. I was just told as I walked up here, there's a lot of folks from Montclair here, but there are a lot of folks from other places. Mountain Lakes, Basking Ridge has got a big crowd. We have 385 people in this church right now. How about that? That's pretty darn impressive. For those of you, I don't want to go on here, but it occurs to me, I don't know all of you, and many of you don't know me yet, and I hope we get the chance to get to know each other over the next year and beyond. But a short snippet on me is I grew up, born in Boston and grew up outside of Boston. Youngest of four. I normally don't admit that, by the way. Youngest of four. My dad didn't get out of high school. My mom did. She made sure we went to college. My dad made sure we cared about politics and civic responsibility. I say that because you won't be surprised we were big Kennedy Democrats. There's a picture above my office. I'm a Monmouth County guy, by the way. Married to Tammy. We've got 4 teenagers, so I say in the house of worship in particular, please keep us in your prayers. We were big Kennedy Democrats. In my office in Red Bank, New Jersey, there's a picture behind my desk of my mom at a T working on behalf of then Congressman John Kennedy to get elected to the Senate in the 1950s. So you won't be surprised. I'm a big, like I suspect many of you, big Kennedy Democrat. And I was thinking over the past now 12 days about a particular moment in 1980. I think it was literally my 23rd birthday, or we were celebrating it. And Teddy Kennedy gave a now famous speech conceding his race for the presidency. And he quoted Tennyson, and he said his brothers and he were always comforted by this, and it always struck me that he said the following, and I quote Tennyson: "That which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield." Which I always thought that was a powerful quote inside of a powerful speech, and that was a low point for him. And it got lower 3 months later for our party. I remember, I don't know if you remember, I remember waking up the morning after Ronald Reagan got elected president and thinking we just elected a movie actor as president of the United States. And by the way, they were in power for 12 years, notwithstanding Teddy's imploring that night in August of 1980. I remember the morning, it was actually not 8 mornings, it was about 6 weeks of mornings after Al Gore lost to George W. Bush. This led Al Gore to say, in politics you win some, you lose some, and then there's that pesky third category. Which, history, what is that phrase? We are born to repeat history. We're in that pesky third category again. Winning the popular vote, losing the presidency. I remember Brendan referred to it, I remember the heartache, not believing as unpopular as George W. Bush was the morning after when he had defeated John Kerry to be reelected. And what you find, at least in national, I think we have to walk and chew gum, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I think we have national business to do, and we've got New Jersey business to do. And I think Brendan's completely right. We got to find a way to reignite our base, and we got to find a way to reach into the hearts and fears and minds and aspirations of those who are not with us. One of the things you realize nationally, and we have to accept this, that it's almost as difficult to prevent a second term as it is to win a third term. We just saw how difficult it is to get years 9, 10, 11, 12. It's really hard. It does not happen often in our country, in our history. It is also very rare to stop somebody after 4 years. And one of the things I applaud Marcia, you and your team for is that we're having this meeting in November of 2016, because one of the lessons is you snuff out that ability to get years 5, 6, 7, and 8 in the early days, as you are doing. For all of the concerns and fears that I had, at least about a Ronald Reagan or a George W. Bush, I have to tell you, neither one of those guys, for all of their faults and all of the policy legacies that we still deal with, this notion of smaller government is better than bigger government, which is a complete lie, or the notion of invading the wrong country, which leaves us with the challenges and the geostrategic challenges that we have today, in particular with ISIS. I don't recall either of those president-elects started out in their first days with the moves on the chessboard that this president-elect has started out with. Naming his core group an anti-Semite, a racist, a Russian sympathizer, a climate skeptic. He has a vice president who, one of our colleagues in Congress, one of the folks on our side of the aisle, said, quote unquote, was the most culturally conservative member of the House of Representatives. This is an extreme team. So I think if we go in, and by the way, I hope we find common ground, Jonathan. I hope that we can find common ground on things like infrastructure, which we so desperately need. But I have lived in Germany twice, once as a private citizen and once as the United States ambassador. And I'm a modest student of German history. And I know what was being said about somebody else in the 1920s. And you can unfortunately drop in names from today into those observations from the 1920s. And the moves that have been made early on only aid and abet that argument. So I have to tell you, in the walk and chew gum category, we got to do every single thing we can to make sure this guy's a one-term president. We cannot let this stand. That is job number one. And I want to echo something that Marcia said. We need a strong national party that is in all represented in fact, not just in words, in all 50 of our United States. And Marcia, as you also pointed out, notwithstanding the successes of 2008 and 2012, we've had a horrific string of down ballot challenges and losses, whether it be in the Senate, which many folks would argue I would probably be one of them. We should have won back and didn't. The House of Representatives, which feels as far away today as it's been since we lost it in 2010. Or gubernatorial representation, which gets us a little bit more to the immediacy of New Jersey and the role we can play. We're at the lowest level since 1922 as a national party, since 1922. Our state legislatures are at all-time lows. So yes, we must make sure that this is a one-term president. Yes, we must have a national party that works toward that objective in all 50 states. But we also need, as a party, to worry about the entire scope up and down the ballot. And that gets us to New Jersey. As luck would have it, we're first up to bat in a Trump presidency. And that's a responsibility, I know you join me, that we take very, very seriously. I've been saying over the past 12 days, and it's true, the long road back for America begins in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Think of the things, and this is not theoretical, we're playing with live ammunition. We have an election right in front of us. We've got a primary on June 6th, and we've got a general election in November. Think of the role we can play in planting that first flag. By the way, if you don't know it, and I assume you do, there are 2 states that hold their gubernatorial elections, only 2, the year after the presidential. the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the great state of New Jersey. Each are open seats. I know you're crushed to know that Chris Christie's term limited as I am. It turns out you could take the word term out of that sentence. Just testing your memory there. Virginia, we're going to try to hold the seat. And I hope we do in the Commonwealth of Virginia. New Jersey's got more at stake in my judgment. First of all, we can take a seat. Secondly, we can replace someone who was not only a failed leader, but is a close associate with the very president we're also going to try to unseat. So this is a twofer. We could set the stage. We could plant that flag, not just for our benefit, all 9 million of us, not just some of us, but we can also make a statement to the country. And how good will it be to campaign on the following themes, and then in January of 2018, which unfortunately feels like a lifetime from now, enact all of which we are campaigning on. And by the way, if we do it well and we do it together, we can. Think about things like standing up for the citizens of the state, but also sending a message to our country. Minimum wage getting to $15 as soon as possible. Earn sick leave, not just in some communities, but across the state. Child-dependent care, maybe even caregiver tax credits available for folks. How about equal pay for equal work? As I mentioned, I'm from Massachusetts. I was a very close friend of Governor Deval Patrick's. I happen to be the high school classmate of a Republican governor, Charlie Baker of Massachusetts. Even he has signed a piece of legislation that our governor can't find his way to sign, which is brilliant in its simplicity and equal pay. It's no longer allowed. It's now illegal. Is that the Speaker? Yes. Speaker, let's hear for Speaker Sheila Oliver. Just go. Always a pleasure. Always an honor to be with you, Speaker. In Massachusetts, it's now illegal to ask anybody, if they're applying for a job, what they make in their current job. It's that simple. We should have that in New Jersey, and we will. How about plans to make college more affordable in our state? How about opening up democracy in the voting rights agenda as opposed to doing the other folks again to narrow democracy? How about putting money back in to fund women's health plans and programs? Or signing sensible, common sense gun safety legislation. And working with guys like you, all of us banding together and turning on its head the anti-environment Chris Christie policies of the last 7 years. Kevin, at every turn, workers' rights, not just what they're paid, their benefits, their rights, their dignity, at every step of the way, turning on its head what Chris Christie has done to the state. And as was mentioned by Jonathan, I think very brilliantly, I believe ultimately we need not just better gun safety laws in America, but we need national gun legislation. Likewise, we can do better in this state as it relates to our immigrant populations, but we need national comprehensive immigration reform. But until we get to that better day, there's no reason why we can't have access to driver's licenses for everybody, to have state ID cards, to have in-state tuition and financial aid for our dreamers. We can do that in New Jersey. I got asked, I declared my candidacy 6 months ago. I was asked on day one, why you? And this is, I think, what I want to share with you today, and I think we can find common ground on this. Because we're too far gone in too many respects in the state, but we can get this back. I'm a huge optimist. I said, because I will be the governor who makes decisions at every turn based on what's best for the next generation in this state, not what's best for my next election, period. And you have my word to do that. Enough already on kicking the can down the road. It's time to say enough. We need a governor who has our back. We need someone who we can trust, who is in the category, and I say this with humility, going into government, the right people, going into government for the right reasons, trying to do the right things, whether we agree or not. There's no other story beyond that. I mentioned Teddy Kennedy's speech in quoting Tennyson from August of 1980. I have to end that speech because you know how it ended. And that's just something, a moment that struck deeply in 1980. I think it strikes just as deeply here in the year 2016. We just can't afford to have 12 years of winter in front of us. We've got to get this back turned around beginning next year in New Jersey. And you know what he said, but I'll remind you. For all those whose cares have been our concern, the work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die. Let's never forget those words. Let's remember again that the long road back for America begins next year, now in New Jersey. It's a moment we did not ask for, but it's a moment we accept with responsibility to get it right, to not let folks down in our state, in our country, in our party. It starts here, it starts now, and it starts with us. Thank you very much.